Hello everyone, Necromancer Kids here once again, bringing some necromancy for you. In the last video I did a top 10 of the best beatsticks in Go format, which for me is any level 4 or lower monster with 2000 or higher attack on the card itself. This time I want to highlight the top 10 weakest beatsticks. Not to disparage their use, but to highlight some unique cards and their interactions, and maybe to spark your imagination on how you could use them. Unlike the top 10 best video, this is going to be mostly opinion based, as with very few exceptions, they haven't really been used in any competitive manner. All that said, let's get started. Number 10 is Dark Elf. Yep, because there are only 19 monsters in total that fit the beatstick criteria. Dark Elf is smack dab in the middle, and has the unfortunate distinction of being both the 10th best and 10th worst. With 2000 attack and 800 defense, and the requirement to pay 1000 life points to attack with her, she's really just middle of the road. Being dark, you can potentially use her as a tribute target for a deck devastation virus though. Number 9 is Flash Assailant. A fiend with 2000 attack and defense. However, he loses 400 attack and defense for each card in your hand. A bit like a budget Blade Knight without the all-important flip negation effect, and harder to get the full value from. I played it in a handless deck alongside Swift Gaia before, where the idea was to set everything and swing every turn with one big beefy monster. While it's a nice card when it gets working, you really need skill drain to properly utilize it. Number 8 is Shadow Knight Archfiend. A wind fiend with 2000 attack and 1600 defense. During each standby phase, you must pay 900 life points, and all damage it deals is halved. On the upside, anytime it's targeted with an effect, you can roll a die and negate it on a roll of 3. Sometimes you can really blow out the opponent with that, but it only works about 17% of the time, so it can't really be relied on. The 900 point cost and also having damage makes it similar to Dark Elf, in that you can only end up losing more life points than the opponent from playing it, and has a less useful attribute to boot. I remember when playing this card in Cube Unlimited, sometimes it was better for an opponent not to destroy Shadow Knight for a few turns just to burn you down with it. Especially since not even skill drain negates the 900 life point cost. Number 7 is Arsenal Bug. The only level 3 monster which qualifies for the list. This earth insect has 2000 attack and defense, just like Flash Assailant. However, it loses 1000 attack if you don't control another insect. While that restriction means it can only be used in specific decks, I didn't put Arsenal Bug too high on this list because it has an interesting niche that the other cards don't. Being level 3 means it can be played in or against decks running level limit area B, and it can be creature swapped to the opponent when you don't have a bug, or to shrink it down to 1k and get more value from an opponent's card instead. Plus, there are a lot of good insect monsters in Go format still. Number 6 is the Unfriendly Amazon. An Earth Warrior with 2000 attack and 1000 defense. During each of your standby phases, you have to tribute a monster or destroy the Unfriendly Amazon. Being searchable by Rhoda and never shrinking down makes this card a decent enough beatstick, and the fact that its cost is paid on your standby phase means you can throw it out alone and at least swing once before it ends up destroying itself, and will protect your life points on the opponent's upcoming turn. You can also use the tokens from Scapegoat to mitigate the harm it does to your board. Still, it's a big price to pay for a 2k beater who still gets walled by GK Spy. Also, this card really should have been errated to be an Amazonas monster like Amazon Archer was. Halfway through the list now, we have number 5, Guy Soul the Combustible Collective. One of the only cards on the list that has actually been in a top 8 deck, though in this case it was just a side deck card and didn't really see the light of day. It's a Fire Pyro with 2k attack and piercing that lets you tribute other Pyro monsters to give it an extra 1k attack boost each. It also blows up during your end phase regardless of what you do with it. Being a fire attribute monster and not having any way to mitigate its downside outside of skill drain is a major reason this card is so high on the list. However, this card is one of the few Beatsticks with a decent enough upside, which is its piercing effect. You can also get in for 2k against a user of Scapegoat, or to snipe a little bit of life to end the game when it's gone into time, or just use it to take out other high attack monsters like Blade Knight. Just a side note, does anyone else think this card is sort of designed like Ball of Lightning from Magic the Gathering? Or is that just me? Number 4 is Nuvia the Wicked. 2000 attack and 800 defense. It gets automatically destroyed when normal summoned. And additionally, it loses 200 attack for each monster your opponent controls. Either effect would be a big nerf, so having both is just downright awful. You basically have to flip summon it or special summon it and hope your opponent won't play any monsters. However, it does have a small niche in that it can be used to trigger Last Will to search out combo cards, and being dark means it could be instant fuel for BLS. It was also featured at 3 in a cool Strike Ninja deck that would banish it and then special summon it as a finisher. Number 3 is Boar Soldier. An Earth Beast Warrior similar to Nuvia the Wicked with 2k attack, and destroys itself on normal summon, but loses 1000 attack if the opponent controls any monsters. Its downside is actually the maximum penalty that Nuvia can get, but the opponent only needs one monster to trigger it. It also doesn't fuel Chaos or Strike Ninja strats, but it does slot better in a Last Will deck that focuses on the Earth attribute, such as with cards like Milas Radiant and Gigantes. Number 2 is Armor Exe, a rare light rock monster with 2400 attack and 1400 defense. It can't attack the turn it's summoned, and during each standby phase, you must remove a spell counter from your side of the field or it's destroyed. That isn't just your standby phase, by the way, but the opponent's as well. And most frustrating is that it not only doesn't come with its own spell counters, which could have at least made it somewhat interesting, but it also can't hold spell counters either. Support cards like Apprentice Magician that can put spell counters on other cards state that they only work with cards that can actually hold them to begin with, such as Breaker and Royal Magical Library. The two things that save this card from being considered the worst in my opinion, and you're more than justified to disagree if that isn't worth it, is that it's at least a light monster and can fuel chaos strategies, and has a sizable 2400 attack, which beats pretty much every commonly played monster. With skill drain on the field, you can get in one fat swing with it before it dies to its mandatory cost. Then, next turn, drop BLS on the opponent for a clean 3k beater. Finally, the number 1 weakest Go For Rent Beatstick in my opinion is Cave Dragon. With its wind attribute and dragon typing, 2k attack, Cave Dragon cannot be normal summoned if you control a monster, but also cannot attack unless you control another dragon. Having to set this card and hope it won't die, or needing to resurrect it from the grave, only to have it be unable to attack unless you have a dragon on it already, is very frustrating. Skill drain won't even negate the summon restriction. And while I think dragons are super awesome, there are very few dragons which see meta play. The fact that you have to jump through so many hoops with this card and end up with a much lower ceiling than something like Armor Exe even, is why I personally rank it as the worst of the Go For Met Beatsticks. So, what did you guys think? Would you have ranked these cards any differently? Did this list inspire you to make any fun, janky decks? And is there another top 10 that you'd like to see next? Let me know down in the comments. By the way, if you're curious about why I say Armor Exe that way, there's actually an official ruling that its name is pronounced like that. Weird, right? Anyway, thank you for watching, and remember to subscribe to a Goat Yugi Tuber today. Have a good one.